Good morning. If you're with me on Facebook, this is YouTube. We're going live on Facebook right now. So give me just a moment, guys. And if you are catching this, then I'm going live on Facebook at the same time. So I'm going to be going back and forth. If you're watching the recording, hello. Good morning, everybody. This is Andrew David. This is the My Ecom Club Freedom Call. These calls take place Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I am live currently on Facebook. I'm also live on YouTube. So if you are subscribed already on YouTube, we're going to be adding more and more videos there, all sorts of different stuff. I am going to be adding some things on YouTube that I don't have here on Facebook. So on that note, hello, everybody. Hello, Evies. Good morning to you. As you guys come on, please drop a comment in there, whether you're on YouTube or you're on Facebook. Drop a comment in. Let me know that you're there. Let me know audio's okay, everything's going on all right. Guys, these calls Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. The purpose of these are to help you guys really focus in, mentally get where you need to be so that you can have some success, how to create a success mindset, how to become an entrepreneur, how to make that transition. Last night, I was on a call with Brock. 5:30 p.m. we were here and we were talking about the cash flow quadrant. I think I still have it written on my board. Employee, self-employed, business owner, investor, right? I was talking about that and talking about how that works out. Good morning, everybody. Gwendolyn, Kimberly, Tina, Linda, Jimmy, Saulo, Dean. Glad to have you guys on with me. So I mentioned yesterday, I wanted to, I thought about coming on and talking about affirmations and talking about different stuff. Wednesday, we talked about your human balance sheet. We talked about creating a balance sheet with your characteristics and your strengths and figuring out where you're at and what you need to do to really succeed. How many of you guys went through that? I want to just kind of get a feel for what everyone's done. But then what I want to do today, guys, I got a question for you. I woke up this morning and kind of had this, I was feeling a bit overwhelmed. Everything's piling up. I got the event coming up next week, planning the next 4 events. I've already kind of got on the calendar and where we're going to be in the locations. And so we're getting that worked out. And, as I'm doing it, we're planning out content and new content and bringing in new mentors and talking about bringing in some other speakers and doing other stuff. And how are we going to create an even better product for you guys overall? What can we do to better the education? So how many of you guys, here's the time I want you to start dropping in. How many of you guys have felt within the last few weeks you've struggled a little bit with being overwhelmed? Tell me I'm not the only one, right? I felt a little bit overwhelmed earlier. I got up, there was a little bit of anxiety. I was kind of frustrated. I'm wondering what's going on. Why am I not being as productive as I'd like to be? And it kind of just felt like things were snowballing, and it hit me this morning really big. I mean, a week from now, we're going to be, sitting in Fort Lauderdale, and at this time, by then, I'll be, an hour and a half into my first presentation, and there's a lot of content. There's a lot of preparation that goes into that kind of stuff. So please tell me I'm not the one that, let me see. The only one that does that feels overwhelmed. Good. So let's talk a little about that. I want you guys to kind of think about this, and so I want to share with you kind of what feeling overwhelmed is. If you guys are okay with it, I want to talk about feeling overwhelmed, and I want to give you a couple of key things that you can do to deal with it. Something that I had to do this morning, right? I woke up early this morning and immediately was feeling that overwhelmed. And I started to kind of feel that anxiety build up, and I had to stop myself. And this is me, guys. If you're coming on and you're not sure, I've got my YouTube up live as well. And so we're doing the back and forth. But I want to share with you some key things that you can do if you start to feel overwhelmed to deal with it. If you guys are okay with that, I'm going to share with you a couple of things. I want to talk about what it takes, and I want to go through that. Right, Tina's talking about making a list, and I want to ask you guys, what do you do to deal with overwhelm? One of the first things that you need to do, and why, if you go back a few weeks, I talked in depth about being self-aware and really understanding who you are and how you behave and your characteristics, and setting up on Wednesday that human balance sheet. We talked about, your positive and the human liabilities that you may have. Guys, self-awareness is a huge thing, because if I know how my day should go and I know how I deal with things on a continual basis, then what I can do is I can come to, as I'm dealing with my day, I can say, okay, here's what's going on and here's how I'm feeling, and something's out of whack and I've got to deal with it, right? So this is kind of what happens throughout your day, right? This is your brain, right? This is your brain when you wake up in the morning. Nice and empty. This is what your brain looks like in the morning. And what happens is a lot of us take our brains and right away we start to add things to it. Immediately we start to deal with some in-house things. We start to deal with the kids, right? Now, some of you guys wake up and within the first hour, within the first 30 minutes, you grab your phones and you're immediately on Facebook. You get onto Instagram, right? You start checking emails. You start going through your day. You get dressed, you go to work, and then you start working on spreadsheets, and you're doing reports. You're dealing with customer service. You pick up your tools. Oh my gosh, I got a text from my wife. Oh man, did you see that latest post that was there? Oh my gosh, there's some new things going on with Anthony Davis and the Lakers and the Pelicans and football Super Bowl and everything else, and all this stuff is going on. And what's happening? Oh my gosh, right? And your brain fills up and it gets full and full and full, right? Oh my gosh, what is happening today? I can't handle it. And your brain gets to this point, and there's only so much you can do. There's only so much that you can fit into your day, because your brain starts to get too full. Every single thing that you do throughout your day adds to what's going on in your head. And so that feeling of anxiety builds because your capacity to deal with things becomes overwhelmed. You get to your limit because you do have limits. You do, right? That's the reality, is you do have limits. And some of us experience anxiety in different ways. I feel like my heart starts to race a little bit more. I feel like I start to kind of clench up, right? I shut down, which isn't the great thing when you're not feeling real productive. If you stop doing what you're doing, that's not a great way to deal with overwhelm, right? Some of us do that. We just go and we start scrolling even more on social media. We go straight to Netflix. We get onto YouTube and just lose ourselves. We sit down. And so you've dealt with all of this stuff during the day. You dealt with all of this stuff during the day and you go, okay, now my brain is totally full and I'm totally fried. And what the hell do I do to take care of it all? Right? How many of you guys have felt that? How many of you guys feel like your brain gets full up before you even hit 9 o'clock, before you even get to lunchtime, and you're already totally full? You're at your capacity. You don't know what in the heck you're going to do with the rest of your day. How many of you guys deal with that on a consistent basis? Right? So here's a couple of quick things, a couple of things that you can do in order to deal with the overwhelm. First and most important, guys, really is you've got to be aware enough to know who you are and where your brain is at, so you can start to recognize before you get to this point. You've got to start to recognize what you can do so that you can dump things out and allow your brain to get back where it should be. Right? Wouldn't it be great if we could go through life and our brain was nice and empty and we didn't have to deal with the stress all the time? Now, that may not be the reality, because absolutely, as you deal with your day, things will happen no matter where you go, and stuff will get added even once you've dumped. And so these little tricks are things that you can do consistently to keep yourself in line and to try and maintain a sense of, being in control. Okay, so one of the very first things that you need to do, honestly, truthfully, is look at your diet. Look at the food that you're taking in. Okay? This plays a huge role in how you feel and how your body reacts and how your brain reacts throughout the day. So food, and then the second thing, a lot of us are guilty of this, and not everybody is, but a lot of us are guilty of this. You have to look at the quantity of caffeine that you're taking in. See, a lot of times you deal with, especially on Mondays, or now it's Friday, and oh, it's been a long week, so I need that extra cup of coffee, and right? Caffeine plays a huge role in the food that you take in, the sugars. If you're taking excessive amount of sugars, or maybe you get so busy, if you're one of those people that just doesn't eat because you get so busy, right? For some reason, some of you guys are guilty of that. I can't help but eat too much. But food and caffeine play a huge role in how your brain functions and how you feel. So you need to stop. The very first thing that you need to do, guys, if you want to deal with feeling overwhelmed, is you need to sit down and you need to look at your food and your caffeine intake. Okay? Food and caffeine. Very first thing that you need to do. Christian, if you're drinking 4 cups a day, you need to wean yourself off of that and water it down a little bit, step back, and increase the amount of regular water that you take in, because this caffeine will raise your heart rate. Too much sugar will have an effect on how you feel. You will have tremendous ups and downs. And I'm not just talking about sugary drinks, guys. I'm talking about, too much breads and starches will do that, the way that your body reacts to that. Too much fruit can do that too, because there's the fructose there. There's sugar in a lot of things, and I'm not saying to get into a keto diet. I'm not saying to do, but you need to control the consumption so that the physiology of your body isn't affecting the way that your neurons are firing. Are we clear there? Does everybody understand that? Yes? Good. Comments, likes. I'm still connected with everybody. Everybody know what's going on? Hit the like button if you understand what I'm saying. Caffeine and food is the first thing that you need to look at as you're dealing with overwhelm. Okay? So let me know that you guys are paying attention. Hit that like button. Let me know that everything's there and we know what's going on. All right? So I get a bunch of angry things popping up. So, all right, caffeine and food. The next thing, guys, is to take a moment and meditate. Breathe. Now, when I say meditation, it doesn't have to be sitting down and crossing your legs and closing your eyes and doing the Om. It doesn't have to be that. But it should be several minutes, minimum of 5. Minimum 5 minutes. And I've talked about this when we did the your productivity sheet. I gave you certain things that you can do throughout the day. These are essential. This is part of this. Take your power break, something to renew you. Every hour you should have 5 minutes that you either walk quietly, no music, no social media, no flipping through things, no looking at emails, no calling family, none of that. 5 minutes, that is just you, okay? And just you, deep breath in, hold it, deep breath out. You've got to do that several times a day. What we tend to do physically, and you guys have to understand this, when you start to get stressed and you start to get anxious, you hold your breath. Have you ever watched a scary movie and right before, someone's hiding in the closet, they're hiding under the bed, they get behind the door, they're hiding, they're waiting, and you know that axe murderer is coming around the corner, and what happens? What do? You're sitting on the couch and you're tense. What do? You get quiet and you hold your breath, right? Think about it. When you get anxious, you hold your breath and you starve your brain of oxygen. And we do it, and that's one thing that raises the level of anxiety. So you're watching that movie and you get anxious, and then you hold your breath, you get even more anxious, and that's why when something happens, you give the... Guys, realistically, a big part of that big breath that you take when you get scared isn't just because you're scared, it's because your body's going, hey, where's my oxygen? I need to breathe. So if you're feeling anxious, take those minutes and take deep breaths. Recognize where you hold your stress. I hold a lot of it up here. I get like this. I bunch up and I hold my breath. You've got to release. You've got to breathe deep and release, okay? Bring that oxygen in. So food, caffeine, meditation. Okay, there's different ways of meditating, but it is important. Add in more oxygen and it will lower your level of anxiety. Okay, now one of the next things you need to do, and this one is going to be important, and it's important as you guys go through things, right? Linda, you're absolutely true there. There's a lot of great guided meditation on YouTube. There are apps that you can download. There's some simple ones that I've used as well. The key is just taking that time to breathe for yourself. Okay? The next thing you're going to do, we've talked about this before, but you're going to take your brain filling up and you're going to find a way to dump it out. Okay? So, here's how you do a brain dump. Real simple. And this is why some of you guys haven't done a brain dump appropriately, or why you've struggled with it, because you edit yourself. So you need a piece of paper, you need a notebook. If you want to do, a 3-ring binder, if you want to do whatever you want, but pen and paper, something physical, something tangible. Okay? Pen and paper. I do this, and then I also have then my journal. Okay? And I'm going to show you how I do it. And you're going to find the way that works for you, but there's an important thing to the way that you do your brain dump. Okay, so first thing that you need to do is you need to just write, unedited, you need to write everything down that's in your head. Just start making a list and go down the page. Single items, boom, 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 boom. Okay, one word on each page or each line, right? Maybe 2 columns if you want to, but just one on the way down, all right? So you're going down the page. Real simple stuff, right? I'm going to just write things down. I'm going to write down everything that I'm thinking about, everything that's got to get done, all of my tasks. I'm going to write about the event, content, kids, Sierra, cleaning up, the laundry, dishes, dogs, this, that, the other, this content. I'm just going to create my list, right? One line for every single thing. Then I'm going to take that and I'm going to highlight 3 key things that I know need to get done. This is my anxiety to-do list. So I'm going to write down everything that needs to get done, everything that I'm worried about finishing, and I'm going to write them all down, and then I'm going to highlight 3 key things. Just 3. I'm not going to worry about everything else for right now. All right? Is everybody still with me? Does everybody understand what we're doing? So you have your to-do list, and you write all of it down, and that may take 2 minutes, it may take 5 minutes, it may take 20. You're going to write every single thing down, and you're going to highlight 3 things. The next thing that you're going to do, and this is important in your brain dump, okay? This is the important part. I want you guys to pay attention to this. So we're going to write down an 80-20. How many of you guys have heard the 80-20 rule? 20% of the things end up causing 80% of the results. 20% of things cause 80% of the positivity. 20% cause 80% of the anxiety. 80% of the stress. All of that stuff plays in, right? So you've got to understand that there's, and I've got some people popping up on YouTube, so hi there. I'm also live on Facebook, so we're kind of going back and forth. But so you've got to understand you're doing your 20-80 rule now at this point. After you've made your list, you're going to create now a 20-80 list, right? My 80-20 list. I'm going to write down 20% of the things that are giving me 80% of the positivity in my life. The things that make me happy. The things that I'm getting done. The things that help me feel better. I'm going to write down the 20% of the things, whether it's things that I do, it's people in my life, the projects that I'm working on, whatever it is. I'm going to write down 20% of the things that help me create 80% of the positivity. And maybe it's working on something that I don't necessarily love, but it's bringing me closer to a goal, right? So I'm going to write that down. And then I'm going to write down a list of the 20% of the things that are bringing me the negativity, the anxiety, the frustration. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at that and I'm going to say, what would life look like if I could make this easier? If I could switch some of these, if I could bring some positivity to that, how would life be? If I had a gun to my head, how would things be if life was easier, right? This is like what I'm giving you guys. These are things that you can break down. You could do part of them if you're feeling overwhelmed. But if you get to that breaking point and you feel like you absolutely need to do all of it, you can combine all of these things. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to journal. I'm going to take out my journal and I'm just going to write. And I'm going to write solutions. I'm going to write ways that I could change what's going on. I'm going to write about what can happen if I really apply myself and I can make these things positive. I'm going to just write. And the reality is as you write, a lot of this stuff isn't going to make sense. It's going to be, some of it may even be ludicrous, but I'm going to write down just everything that's there and I'm going to let it just flow out without editing. See, I've talked with some of you and as you write, you have a tendency, because I used to do this too, if you're writing in a journal or you're writing on a piece of paper, you edit things based on what you think should be said. You edit things based on, if I'm writing in my journal, I'm going to edit it because my posterity, my kids, my grandkids might read this someday and I don't want them to think that I'm a lunatic. You can't edit when you do a brain dump. You need to just write. You need to write what you're feeling. You need to write your emotions. You need to just write it out. You need to let it all out. And as you read back through it, you will find 1 or 2 or 3 nuggets. You will find something, some kind of elegant idea within that to help you change the course that you're on. Okay? But you've got to do a full brain dump. If you don't do that brain dump, then you're going to end up with things half full and it's going to fill right back up right away. So you have to go the full depth of the exercise or else you're going to struggle with it. Right? So, couple of things then I'm throwing at you guys. First thing, if you're feeling overwhelmed, the very first thing that you need to do is look at your diet and look at your caffeine intake. And you need to tweak that, okay? Next thing that you need to do is breathe deep. Maybe a little bit of meditation. You can add some exercise in there to let some of the, the tension kind of flow out. But deep breaths and excessive oxygen is a great way to lower anxiety. That is something you can do any time of the day, right away, and it will lower anxiety. Breathing deeply. If you are feeling truly overwhelmed, too much going on, too much in your head, then this kind of combination is your next step. So your list of everything to do, you select 3 that you're actually going to do, and then the full brain dump involving the positive and the negative and how you feel you can deal with it. So I'll write out a little kind of 5-6 steps dealing with overwhelm. I'll post it in there today. I'm going to post it along with how to correctly do affirmations. I said I was going to do that, so I've got it most of the way written up. I'm going to add that in there into our Facebook group later today. I want you guys to understand these are the things that are there that are possible if you're dealing with overwhelm, and you're not the only one that's been overwhelmed in life. You're not the only one that's dealing with overwhelm each and every day. We all deal with it. We all do. And that's okay. It's when you allow it to completely take over your tasks through the day and everything else that's going on that it can become too much. Don't let it hinder your progress. Don't let it keep you from success. Don't let fear overwhelm what's going on in your life. Deal with it and move on and understand it's okay. And it'll come once in a while. On that note, I hope I didn't overwhelm you with steps to deal with overwhelm, but I'm going to share some of these things in the Facebook group. I'll give you guys there. On that, do me a favor, guys. All of you guys that are here on this call, in the Facebook group, later on today, I'm going to post how to deal with being overwhelmed, and I'd like you to give some of your ideas as well, what you do when you feel overwhelmed, what you do to deal with it. If you want to comment here, that's great, but I'd love to get your guys' feedback inside the Facebook group where I post about this. I'm going to post it just a little bit later on today, so look out for that in our My Ecom Club Facebook group. On that note, guys, love you. Go out, make it an awesome day. Prep for this weekend. If you are joining us in Fort Lauderdale, I'm going to have an email coming out to you soon with a short little video, some ways to prepare to get the most out of it, and we can rock it and roll. All right, love you guys. Have a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.